Hey there, and welcome to the Event Crushed podcast. Each week, we'll be chatting about all things wedding industry, entrepreneurship, and how to crush it in life and business. I'm so glad you're here. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. Well, hello there, friend. Welcome back to the Event Crushed podcast. This is your host, Becky, and I'm so excited that you're here today. I think that this episode is going to be so much fun and hopefully super helpful and encouraging for you. I am going to be talking about green flags for wedding pros and vendors and really what makes me excited to refer someone and to work with somebody. The reason I came up with this is because I was looking at my Benable list, which is what I use for my preferred vendors. And I will link that in the show notes because it's a really awesome free way to create lists of all kinds of different things. I just happen to use it for preferred vendors. So for all of my couples, they get access and I just send them a link. And it's a really fun, interactive, easy way to view and showcase all of my preferred vendors. So I was looking at my list, just kind of going over it because every now and then I'll add somebody new to the list or I'll, take somebody off of the list if they went out of business, different things like that. So I was reviewing it and making sure everything is up to date. And I just kind of realized there's certain qualities that all of the wedding pros on my preferred list share. And so I was thinking about those and I wanted to just kind of compile that into an episode for you all so you could see the things that are really important to me as a wedding planner when I am referring vendors for my couples and clients. And so hopefully this will just be an encouraging episode to give you some ideas of things to keep in mind. I'm sure you are already doing or have many of these qualities, but maybe there's just one area you could improve upon or work on this season or next season. Let's just jump right into these green flags for vendors. We hear about red flags all the time in the wedding industry in different capacities, but today I really wanted to focus on those positive things that make us love working with certain vendors and excited to refer them again and again. I'm sure we all have those vendors in our lives, the ones that when we find out we have a wedding with them, we are so excited, or we just cannot wait to refer our next client to this person or this business. It's just such an awesome feeling when we find those people. Hopefully we all have vendors like that in our lives because it makes our jobs so much more enjoyable too. And we get to work with people that we love and that we trust and that we know are going to take great care of our clients. Okay, so I have 6 green flags that I'm going to share with you, and I'll kind of expand a little bit upon each one. So here we go. The first one is probably not going to be a surprise to you because if you've been listening to the podcast for a little while, I'm sure you've heard me talk about the importance of communication and how essential it is for good working vendor relationships, client relationships. Effective communication is kind of the backbone for me. A vendor could be the most talented, amazing person in the world, but if they are not a good communicator, that's a big issue for me. So unfortunately, that is something that would cause me to not refer someone if they are not a great communicator. And so to be a little more specific about what I mean by great communication, I mean they get back to me or my couple in a timely manner. We're not waiting for days or weeks on end for a response to an email. Their responses are thoughtful, they're intentional, they're not just super quick, thrown together responses. I can tell and my couple can tell that their event or wedding matters to that vendor and it comes across in the way that they communicate with us, whether that's via email or phone call or, meetings. And they're proactive in their communication too. They're not waiting for me or my client to reach out to ask questions and see what the next steps are. They're being really proactive and they're reaching out because they have great systems in place and they have a process of how they work with all of their clients. And so they have a process for collecting information. They'll reach out to my client or myself to, if it's a photographer, for example, to get the family photo groupings list. They'll reach out to discuss the timeline with the couple and myself. They'll reach out at various touch points throughout the process so that my couple and me were never in the dark. We're never wondering how to get a hold of them. Like everything is just laid out. It's seamless. It's easy. And there's never any worry of how to track you down because we've never had any issues with communication. So we just know we can always get a hold of you. We know that you are responsive and that you will get back to us in a timely manner. And that just gives us so much confidence in you. Having a smooth back end in your business creates just such a wonderful experience for everyone involved. Whereas if you kind of have things thrown together and it's not a smooth experience and the communication isn't great because you're trying to balance so much and you just don't have the time, that creates a not great experience. And that ultimately is going to cost you a bit. So while this topic, this first point was about communication, it's also about having clear systems and processes so that you can communicate effectively to your couples and planners and anyone else that you're working with in the planning process. So that's number one. It's number one because it is, again, it's so, so important. And like I said, somebody could be the most talented florist or the caterer that has the best food in the whole state. It really doesn't matter to me if they cannot manage to get back to me or my clients in a reasonable time frame, or if they just don't respond to emails altogether, or if we just can't reach them to get details sorted. It doesn't matter how great their product or service is, unfortunately. All right, moving on to number 2. This is another, I'm sure this is an obvious one and everyone would say this is very important, but just that the person is friendly, kind, and has good energy. They're easygoing. On a wedding day, they bring a calm, positive vibe, even if things are a little bit stressful. Like they're not letting that stress get to them. They're not showing on their face that they're stressed out. They're just staying calm and positive. And couples, families, and other vendors feel more at ease when this person is around. They don't feel on edge when this person is around. They feel at ease, and this person is approachable and kind, and they know that they can come to them with any questions throughout the day. I did a whole episode way back when about the energy that you bring to a wedding day. I can't think of the number on the top of my head, but I will link it in the show notes. It's a great one to go back to, especially as we're in wedding season here in the Pacific Northwest, and just remind yourselves about the energy and the presence that we're bringing into a wedding day and how it affects not just the couple, not just the family, but the vendors, everybody who is a part of that day. Your energy has a huge impact on everybody involved. Moving on to number 3 has to do with the level of service that is provided. So vendors, wedding pros that have high standards and provide excellent service, those are the people that I am going to want to refer. It's the people who go above and beyond. It's the people who deliver consistently great work and provide consistently fantastic service to my couples. They hold themselves accountable to professional standards. They are just true professionals, and they are there to serve. They're there to serve the couples, the families, the vendors. They're there to serve everyone involved. The vendors who have that attitude are the ones that, again, I am going to want to refer and bring business to. When I refer vendors to my couples and clients, it's a risk, right? Because if that vendor doesn't deliver, like if I have talked them up and I'm like, this is the person for you, they're amazing, they're always so reliable, and they create just gorgeous work And that's how I speak very highly of all of the vendors that I recommend to my couples, because that is a huge part of my job, is connecting my clients with amazing vendors that I trust and that I know are going to take such fantastic care of them. But at the same time, it is a bit of a risk, because what if this is the time that that vendor drops the ball? I would never assume that that would happen, but things have happened in the past. And so it's always a risk as the planner to be the one recommending vendors. And while I don't assume any actual liability based off of my contract and the wording, it talks about that. It says that, you are booking, the client is booking the vendors, the contracts are between the couple and the vendors. And so if somebody were to not deliver, I can't actually be held liable. But there is still that level of I feel terrible if I recommend a vendor and they don't live up to that expectation and standard that I had set for my couple. It feels awful. And yes, that's happened before. And I never want to be in that position. I never want to put anyone else in that position. And so that's why this is so serious to me, because my name, and whenever a planner refers a vendor, their name is on the line and they're vouching for that person. And so I have a very high standard for myself in the work that we do as a company. And I hold that same standard for the other vendors that I am recommending. And it is a high standard. And that's why I'm very picky about who's on my vendor list. I don't, obviously I won't just put anyone on there. We have to have worked together multiple times, and you have to have proven yourself to be reliable, great communicator, all the things we're talking about today. And so I guess I just want to add, as I'm talking about this standard of excellence, it also is a consistency in excellence too. If a vendor is great sometimes, and then sometimes they're off their game, unfortunately, that's not going to cut it. We need vendors who are going to show up again and again with consistency. And that goes back to the systems and processes in your business too. That having those in place will help you to be a consistently reliable, trustworthy vendor that will get referred again and again. All right, moving on to number 4. This is a true team player mentality. You've definitely heard me talk about this on the podcast too. I've shared some stories about ways that vendors have jumped in on wedding days and helped out with things that had nothing to do with their job, but because they are a team player and they want the day to go smoothly for the couple, they will jump in and help. And I think that's huge. I think that the vendors who are willing to see a need and fill it, or to see another vendor struggling and say, hey, can I help you? Or to stay 15 minutes at the end of the night to help somebody load up. Those small things get noticed, and those actions are huge in my opinion. And again, it's that going above and beyond that is going to make myself as a planner and other planners want to recommend you. And of course, as a planner, I'm talking about all of this from a planner's perspective. And we all think of planners as being the main ones to recommend vendors. But truth be told, so many vendors get to have this awesome ability to refer other vendors too. And 2 huge ones to call out here are venues and photographers, because oftentimes venues and photographers are 2 of the very first vendors to be booked. And so they hopefully have a great recommended or preferred vendors list. And it's great to have solid connections with venues and photographers specifically, in addition to planners. Planners aren't the only ones recommending vendors. So you need to think about that in your strategy and your relationship building. Obviously, you want to have great relationships with planners, but vendors and photographers are huge. And I know that I did an episode on that way back when, and I'll try to find that one as well to link in the show notes. Okay, so back to this team player mentality, I wanted to add a couple other points here. So I mentioned wedding day, team player jumping in and helping, just being there to support the team. But also I think of this in the sense of online sharing. So this relates to tagging and crediting vendors. If you all worked a wedding together, hopefully the planner has shared the vendor list with you and you're using that. When you share photos, whether it's on Instagram or your blog or Facebook, you are taking that list and you are tagging everyone and you are sharing. There's so many reasons why this is so helpful and important, but at the very least, you are supporting everyone involved, and everyone had a part in that day, whether it's the hair and makeup artist, whether it is the videographer or the cake baker. Everybody played a part and should be recognized for the job that they have done. At the end of the day, weddings are collaborative, and green flag vendors make everyone look good. All right, we have 2 points left. The next one is sustainability and boundaries. Ooh. I am not personally looking for vendors who are claiming that they're booked every weekend and that they're so busy. And I mean, for me, being booked every weekend is not a badge of honor in the way that some people might think it is. I want vendors who are balanced, who have a good number of weddings, but also can still take care of themselves and have a life. This, of course, it totally depends on the company. If it's a big team and they have a ton of weddings because it's split between several people, that's awesome. If it's like a solopreneur, it's a little bit different. So vendors who protect their time and energy so they can show up fully for each wedding, that is essential in my opinion. I think it's important to prioritize balance over burnout. We've all been there. We've all felt it. And I think most of us get to a point where we're like, we don't want to live in this state of burnout. And so sometimes that means raising prices. Sometimes that means taking fewer weddings. There's all kinds of ways to combat that. But my point is that the wedding pros who have kind of found that balance, and it takes time to get to that point. It takes time to find that, but the pros who have kind of, experienced that level of too many weddings and then have been able to find the sweet spot of this is a great number of weddings for me where I can really serve my couples fully and be present and not just spinning my wheels. That is the great place to be. And those are the vendors that I'm going to want to recommend to future clients and couples. These are also the vendors that are going to last in the industry. They're the ones that are going to enjoy longevity and who are going to just be able to continue to serve their clients with good attitudes and with ease. All right. And the last of the green flags is community-minded and supportive. I know I mentioned a little bit ago about, tagging and sharing on social media and all of that good stuff. That ties into this here too. But beyond that, it's really just this mindset and attitude of collaboration, community over competition, which is a phrase that is so tired and we've been hearing it for years. But the truth of that phrase is still really important. I've been trying to find a new phrase to replace it with. Haven't found anything I love quite yet, but just this idea that there's enough business to go around. We don't need to be constantly comparing and sizing up one another because we all have different clientele. We serve different markets and there is enough business to go around. These vendors who are looking to build intentional, lasting relationships with other vendors are my people. It's not, each wedding that we work together, it's not just this one-time transaction. It's not like, okay, great, nice working with you, see you never. I'm hoping that every time I work with someone, it's like an awesome experience and we are excited to hopefully work together again soon. I just worked with a makeup artist a couple weekends ago who I had never worked with before. And she was so fabulous, just her energy, everything about just from the first time meeting her on the wedding day to our email communication before the wedding to after the wedding and our communication on social media. Like it's all been so good. And I just I cannot wait to refer her again. And I didn't refer her for this wedding, obviously, because that was my first time working with her. The couple had found her on their own. But I'm so happy to have had the opportunity to work with her. And I'm so happy to get to potentially have that chance again. So relationships, as we all know, are so extremely important in this industry. It is a relationship driven industry. And the people who, again, are collaborative and who want to support one another and who share and support others' work on Instagram, just that general idea of building each other up, being there for each other, genuinely supporting colleagues and cheering each other on. I mean, this goes such a long way. And again, these are the things that are just such a huge green flag. If I see a vendor just sharing another vendor's work and calling out, how great they are or what an awesome experience it was to work with them, this mindset, it does so much good for our industry as a whole. And those are the vendors that I want to support, are the ones that are community minded. So to recap, the 6 green flags that we talked about today were clear, efficient communication and systems. That was number 1. Number 2 was friendly, kind, and easygoing energy. Number 3 was high standards and excellent service. Number 4 was true team player mentality. Number 5 was sustainability and boundaries. And number 6 was community minded and supportive. So I want to ask you, which of these do you feel like you already embody, like you got it down? And then which one could you possibly grow in? What's an area that you could work on and grow and improve in? I would love it if you would DM me on Instagram. I would love to hear your favorite green flags for vendors. I'm sure there are so many more we could have talked about today. I would love to hear any green flags that you are like, yes, I want to work with that person if they have this green flag. Shoot me a DM on eventcrush.ed over on Instagram and let's chat about it. The wedding industry is filled with such incredible people. I posted this on Threads the other day after I worked a wedding, and I was like, I feel this way after every wedding, but the wedding industry just has the best people. The most amazing people are in the wedding industry. I really, really believe that. And the more we highlight and live into these green flags, the better weddings will be for clients and vendors, families, everybody alike. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you got something out of it. If anything, hopefully it's just a good reminder to you of things that planners and other vendors might be looking for and things that you can just remember as you're going about your week, as you're communicating with other vendors. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll catch you back here next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Event Crushed podcast. I hope you found value in this episode, and if you did, please consider sharing it with a wedding industry friend. We also hope you'll consider leaving a rating or review for the show to help other listeners find it. This podcast is edited and produced by Ace Sound Design. If you're looking to elevate your audio experience, their info can be found in the show description. As always, thank you for listening, and please connect with us on Instagram if you haven't already. Now get out there and crush it.